Well, hello there, my friends, and welcome back. My name is Stephanie Safarian, and you're listening to episode 587 of Sustainable Minimalists. This is a listener-supported show about intentional and eco-friendly minimalist living, and on today's show, we are discussing the rising trend of ditching the smartphone and moving back in time to a dumb phone. We've all been there, right? You pick up your smartphone just to do one little thing, maybe check the weather or check the train time. And then 45 minutes later, you're deep in the social media rabbit hole. You're checking out sourdough recipes. You're checking out day in the life video blogs. And you're wondering where all the time went. Our smartphones have infiltrated all aspects of our life. They are eating up our moments of free time. There is a small but growing movement happening in which people who are tired of being tethered to that glowing rectangle, they're putting the phones away and they're embracing a dumb phone. So my guest today, she turned off her smartphone for just about a week and she embraced a $50 dumb phone. She's here to tell us all about the experience, how it went, how difficult it was, what she gained from the experience, and how we can try it out too if we're feeling the mental, emotional, social consequences of our perpetually online life. My guest argues that dumb phones are available to all of us, and even though they're dumb, quote unquote dumb, they can help us reclaim a lot of what the smartphone has taken away. My guest today is Courtney Lindwall. She is a home and tech reporter with Consumer Reports. Courtney, I'm so excited to talk to you. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks for coming on. You probably don't know this, but my listeners do. I have been on a journey, and it's really been a journey to cut down my smartphone use because on the one hand, this thing is making my life easier in an awful lot of ways, but it's also really, I've noticed in the past couple of years, especially detracting from my quality of life, detracting from my ability to be present in the moment. So I want to talk about all of that, and I want to talk about your week-long experiment with a dumb phone. But before we do all that, I want to know about you. Who are you? What do you do? Tell me everything.
So I work for Consumer Reports. I'm a writer. I cover a lot of tech products. I cover home products as well. Sometimes they're fun experiments like this where I get to try things hands-on and write about my experiences. But then also Consumer Reports has a long history of in-lab testing. So I'm immersed in the world of trying out the latest gadgets, the highest end, newest phones. But I also struggle with those same things that you're talking about as well. And I think even in reporting for this story and learning about the different models of dumb phones, just hearing and reading from so many people who are having so many issues with their screen time. And it's just become such a collective dilemma for so many of us.
Love it. I mean, it sounds like a fun job. I don't know. Maybe it's not always fun, but it certainly sounds like it.
Some products are more fun than others. This was a really fun one, talking about flip phones and digital minimalism, I think, because it affects so many people's lives. This is fun. My beats change sometimes. For a while, I covered toilets. That also affects everyone's life. But certain products are more fun than others to write about. But definitely ones like this, where I think everyone is looking for answers for how to make those products work better in their life. Those are certainly fun.
Well, let's talk about your experiments. You put your smartphone away. It didn't disappear completely, but it went away for 1 week and you embraced a dumb phone. I want to talk about leading up to that big moment, though. What did your screen time look like? What were you experiencing both positively and negatively with regard to your relationship with your phone? I'm curious because I have some very specific thoughts, but they're personal to me. So I'm wondering, is anybody else struggling with their screen time or is it just me?
Yeah, so I actually got this idea maybe a year prior, just my own personal struggle with my screen time. I had purchased this frequently recommended dumb phone model. So it's the Nokia 2780. And so I had purchased it for myself as a way to not get rid of my iPhone, but to give myself a break. So to have kind of two lines at the same time and be able to use the dumb phone, flip phone. On the weekends, I want a Saturday to go be able to sit at a coffee shop and work maybe or be with friends and not be on my smartphone as much. And so it was something that I was already exploring for myself. And then obviously I cover tech at Consumer Reports. And so we decided that more and more people were interested in this topic. And so we decided to cover it with a full story and a more formal experiment where I really put my iPhone away for the full week. My screen time, I think like everyone, there's always a little bit of, it's an embarrassment to admit, even when you know all the strategies that you could be employing to maybe try and fix the problem. It's, yeah, but those weren't really working for me. I am prone to scrolling the same as everyone else. Scrolling on social media, I think was always a big one, or continues to be a big one for me. I had never downloaded TikTok until like maybe 2022. So I was slightly late to TikTok. They have really perfected the algorithm as every single video is interesting. You can go down these holes. And so that was eating up a lot of my time. Apps like Reddit, you can go down holes. So it would be these things that are feeding content to me that I'm not necessarily seeking out. And that was a big distinction as I was learning more about how to make your tech use more intentional. It's if you're seeking out a certain topic to learn about something on YouTube, that feels very different than sitting on an app that's just feeding you videos over and over that you're not necessarily seeking out. So anyways, I feel like over the years, I have fought with my screen time in different ways, downloaded different apps that try to set limits. The limits on your phone itself, like in your iPhone settings, those are really easy to bypass, right? I think we all have experience with, okay, you set the 30-minute limit on Instagram and it's easy to just say no for today or whatever. It's like, those are not that strict. Grayscale mode, I've had my iPhone set to that for weeks at a time. So I tried out different options and it just felt like when you still have the smartphone in your hand, it's very difficult to always be fighting that urge. I think we can get more into this as the conversation goes on, but that was the biggest difference in this week compared to past times that I tried to tackle this. If you're just altering the smartphone, the muscle memory is so strong with how you interact with this device versus really having a completely different device that just doesn't trigger that same instinctual wanting to pick up, wanting to go to the same apps, wanting to just fill all of your spare time with it. And so it really shifted my mindset in a way that was surprising, I think. And anyways, that was a long-winded way to say I struggle, I think, with the exact same screen time issues everyone else does, maybe even more so because I cover tech. And so I'm wanting to try out new features, new products. This is a pretty ubiquitous issue, I think, for any and everyone. And I would say if you've never been on the TikTok train, don't start because it's really hard to get off of it once you're on it. And I'm like, the videos, they're so good. Every one of them, I'm like, wow, I enjoyed that so much. It's like really hard once you're on it to get off.
And it's made that way by design, right? It's
Oh, yeah.
expertly created to keep you on it and out of real life. You called it muscle memory. I
Mhm.
call it, because I didn't think of that great term, muscle memory, but I call it the twitch. Like when
Oh, yeah.
you have a second of downtime and it's just an unconscious picking up the phone, going to whatever app is your fave, clicking on all the things. For me at least, it's an unconscious grabbing for the phone. I do it because I've done it so many times. And that's what's really concerning for me, in addition to, the lack of presence in real life. And just like you, I've tried a bunch of tricks. Some work, like at nighttime when I'm home with my family, I put the phone in a drawer and turn it off. That works. Or for me, it's not TikTok, but it's Instagram. I delete Instagram from my phone for days, weeks, however much of a break I need on end. But the problem with that is if I want to add to my stories, I have to re-download the app and then it's on my phone and then I go back to my twitching of unconscious checking the thing. And so it's not just you and I who are saying that there are some problems with unfettered tech use, undisciplined tech use. A study came out just last week. The Washington Post reported on it heavily. The study found that you can erase 10 years worth of social media brain damage in just 2 weeks by what they did was they blocked the internet on their smartphone, reversed 10 years of attention span loss, memory loss in just 2 weeks. That's phenomenal. But it's interesting to me because these smartphones and especially these social media apps were unleashed upon the population without any thought, any regard to their potential harms. And now here we are. You go anywhere, everybody's just sitting on their phones. And I'm concerned about, especially, I have a 12-year-old. She does not have a phone, but she really wants one. All her friends have one. And I'm just wondering, what does inserting a phone mean in this critical time of development? I don't want her spending all her time on a screen like I would do. If I was 12, I want her reading, I want her playing, I want her exploring, I want her creating. I do not want her sitting on a screen, nor do I want myself sitting on a screen. Right. Okay. So you did something drastic. You shut your phone off, your smartphone off, essentially. I believe you said in your article that you turned it on for emergencies, but you replaced it with a dumb phone. Is that right?
Yep, and I still had the iPhone because there were a few little instances in which I need it for two-factor authentication for my work security email setup thing. And then I use Bluetooth sleep headphones because I sleep next to someone who snores. So I needed to use that to connect to an app to sleep at night. But that was still not really screen time. I was needed to use the iPhone for that. So those were the circumstances in which I pulled out. There might have been a few other times, but for the most part, fully turned off away and was using an old school Nokia 2780. The phone itself was new. Like I purchased it new. Think of an old school one with buttons and T9 texting, that kind of thing.
Okay, and you also said you had two phone numbers. So how would that work? How would people know which number to reach you on if they needed to?
So this is the nice part. You only have to give the new phone number to the handful of people that you really want to be able to contact you. So that was basically what I did. So I inserted a new SIM card into the new flip phone. I got like a Mint 3-month phone line. It comes with like really minimal data. It's pretty inexpensive. And that way, I was able to just give out that other new number to the handful of people like my partner, my family, people who I maybe want to be in close contact with, or someone who I'm like going to meet to be able to say, hey, I'm running late or something like that. Everyone else who you get texts from throughout the day, where I can still receive those texts to my iPhone and then I can reply. When I have a moment when I'm actually sitting at my laptop, I can reply via iMessage typing. And I feel like, I don't know if you feel this way too, my brain space on a laptop feels different. Even though they're both screens, it feels quite different than scrolling on the phone, which feels quite different than watching television. And so for me, being on a laptop and typing back to a friend, especially if it's like a long-winded answer about how I've been or an update or something, that feels better than being on a little phone and being on an app or something like that. So that was how I managed communicating. And then I was able to have the separate phone line that just worked for my week. And it was Mint. It was easy to set up. I think I ordered the SIM online and it came in a few days and it was easy to insert myself.
Okay, so let's talk about the moment that, the phone is ready to go. You turned off the smartphone. What were you feeling? Because I'm thinking about what I would probably feel. And all the emotions would probably not be positive ones.
But it is so funny. As I've been talking about this experience with folks, so much of it is emotional, right? Like I was talking about the different apps that you lose access to, which do have specific logistical consequences on your day to day. Everything for me, I live in New York. So like transit apps, like trying to find when the train's coming, when the bus is coming, things like that. And so all of that is front of mind and started to impact me pretty immediately. But I will say, I think the biggest change when you're removing yourself from constant smartphone life, even briefly, it's an emotional experience because you are, like you said, that twitch, that's like almost an anxiety twitch in a way. And I think it's very baked into like normal human impulses. What is everyone doing? I feel alone for a second. I want to check on someone. I want to know what's going on. And that's like a human emotional impulse. And so you take that ability to self-soothe in a way away, and then you start to have an emotional response. And so I think it's funny when I feel this way even now. So if I'm out and my iPhone dies, I feel this kind of, oh, wow, like my phone's dead. I probably need to head home. It's if I don't have any device on me, even if nothing is going on or wrong, but that's like an emotional response. And so I felt that pretty quickly on the first day, I would say. And especially if I was fully leaving my apartment without my iPhone, if I was like home and my iPhone was in the drawer, even that's a little bit less anxiety inducing than being out in the world and trying also to navigate. And navigating was its own kind of hurdle to do without the GPS on the smartphone. So, yeah, it's a bit lonely and anxiety inducing, I would say. And I think that is the biggest thing that keeps folks stuck from making a transition that could really help them create distance from their smartphone is those emotional reactions.
When you say it was lonely and anxiety inducing, was that just at the beginning? Did those feelings abate as the week went on, or was it just a very lonely, very anxious week for you?
I do think they go away, and I think to the point of the study that you just mentioned, I think our brains are malleable, and they're malleable fairly quickly in a way where you get used to a new norm fairly quickly. And so, yeah, I don't think I spent the whole week worried what other people were doing or feeling like restless. I think it was replaced fairly quickly, even if not completely, but fairly quickly with feeling the classic things that maybe we want to feel like more at peace, just calmer. I'm someone who I think I prone to being I'm prone to being very wound up, right? I run anxious, and so having that space allowed me to have a bit more calm and be just more aware of and in control of how I'm feeling. And I don't think it takes very long to see positive benefits. And I think that was probably my biggest takeaway because I haven't moved over fully to the flip phone by any means. I still use my smartphone. But I think encouraging folks to say, here's this pretty low cost investment you could make that, is another screen time solution that you could use part time. And I think even if you're not deciding to go full 180 and use a flip phone entirely, even small breaks, if it's like your full vacation, you decide to use this, or like a full weekend, I think you do feel the mental health benefits.
Yeah, another strategy that I use in my own life is, I'm not perfect with this by any means, but as long as my immediate family is home and doesn't need to reach me, I turn my phone off on the weekends. Everybody else can wait. And if they really need me, they can text my husband or call my husband and they can find me that way.
Yeah.
And turning my phone off for the majority of the weekend, not all of it, gives me the space, the rest, the rejuvenation that I need from this very powerful piece of technology that really will suck all my moments of free time if I let it. You mentioned that a lot of us have a preponderance to self-soothe by picking up the phone. How did that change, or did it change in your week? Did you find yourself going to reach for this thing and then realizing there's nothing on it to check and feeling let down? Did you stop doing that as the week went on?
Yeah, I think in the very, very beginning, I was also trying to try out the phone itself. So I was playing around with the flip phone because I wanted to see its range of features. So I was like, oh, was it like to use the maps on the flip phone? And oh, this is fun using the old school buttons for texting. So I was using that a little bit. But then I think as the week went on, I was turning to those other things that I still have in my life and I still engage with on a regular basis, but I just felt like my brain pretty quickly learned the muscle memory did go more to picking up the book that's sitting on the table, or even just turning music on and cleaning my apartment more, getting up and going for a walk and calling my mom. Like those other things that I already do, I didn't have the 20-minute scrolling delay first before doing them, I guess. I just went straight to doing the other thing that I enjoy. So, yeah, I think that just became a bit more second nature. And like I said, once we take away that stimulus, our brains are pretty quick in realizing, oh, that's not there as an option anymore.
At Great Wolf Lodge, there's adventure for the whole family. You and your pack can splash away in the indoor water park where it's always 84 degrees. There's a massive wave pool, a lazy river, and tons of water slides for your pack to enjoy together. And the fun doesn't stop there. Get ready to explore and play at adventure-packed attractions from Magi Quest, a live-action game that takes place throughout the lodge, to the Northern Lights Arcade. There's also a bunch of great dining options and complimentary daily events like nightly dance parties, all under one roof. And the best part? With 22 lodges across the country, you're always only a short drive away from adventure. So bring your pack together at a lodge near you. Book your stay today at greatwolf.com and strengthen the pack.
I'm sure I have some people listening right now and they're thinking, okay, that sounds great and I would love to do it, but these phones are just now embedded into daily life. If I want to get on a plane, my ticket's on my phone. If I want to, you mentioned check the train schedule, that's an app on your phone. You want to go to a concert, your ticket's on your phone. You name it. You want to check the weather, your GPS, you're on vacation and you just hiked a mountain and you want to take a picture, the camera's on your phone. Like, it's all in this one neat little package. And so getting rid of the neat little package sounds impossible. I'm wondering if you had any moments of being out and about in the world and you had a, oh shoot moment. I really wish I had my smartphone. Tell me about the moment, but also tell me about what you did in the moment to like figure it out without the phone.
I will not sugarcoat it and say it is a big transition. Like you forget how much like every interaction has moved to app, mobile device, everything from like my movie theater, all the tickets are in your app. It's everything. Tap my phone to get on the train. And even small things like you don't even realize now you're having a conversation with someone and 3 times during the conversation you guys want to look up some random fact or something. Like it's embedded even into your social interactions where when you don't have that, you're like, okay, I guess we just won't know. We won't know that thing now that you're so used to just being able to look everything up. I think it is a transition you have to prepare to make trade-offs and convenience. You just have to be prepared for that. And if it's really important for you to want to take your time, your focus, your attention, whatever it is that is the crux of why you would want to make this change, like keeping that priority center of mind so that the inconveniences, you're able to weather them a little bit more, I would say. But I also think with all of that said, there are ways to navigate it that you will become more used to, like e-tickets for transit. Like there are still the kiosks. You can go and print out your tickets. I think there was one time that I was out and I couldn't figure out the location of where I was trying to be going. And I couldn't easily type it into the Nokia's little web browser, like the GPS. It's not a touch screen. It's like really hard to navigate. So I think I just called someone to ask like, hey, which block is it on again? So those solutions do exist. They just take a little bit more time. And I think a word that I've heard coming up a lot more lately is friction. Like we have just gotten so used to a frictionless life and embrace. I think if you can psychologically like embrace having a bit more of that friction, you get a little bit lost, you can ask the person on the corner and they'll probably be willing to be like, oh no, it's right over there, it's that way. And it's not really that big of a deal. And of course, there's a whole myriad of circumstances in which maybe it would be a big deal. For me, I didn't encounter anything where I couldn't find a solution. I feel like transit for me was such a big one over the week because I'm always trying to navigate around the schedules of the trains and buses. And I'm so used to relying on apps that give me live times for when everything is going to arrive. And then if it's not coming when I think it's going to come, I'm going to be late to wherever I'm going or whatever. I'm standing on the corner. And so a little bit of that was just embracing leave a little bit earlier than you would when you have real-time information about where all the buses are. Or if you're a few minutes late, that's okay. Or whatever. Or just look around you. Are there lots of people at the train station? That means probably these people have been waiting for a little while or whatever. At the movie theater, for example, you can still go up to the front desk and ask them to print out your ticket, like even if it's a little bit faster to have it in the app and show them, like they will still do that for you. The restaurants do, in fact, still have menus they can hand you if you really don't want to scan the QR code or whatever. But I think embracing a bit of the friction is something you have to be finding a bit of joy in during the process, and just know that's going to be part of it.
So we're talking about all the ways your life got harder. We're calling it embracing friction, but it's all the ways in which your days got more difficult to navigate, essentially. So let's flip the script. What did you gain? What were the benefits?
This was what was so powerful is the amount of time per day that we are on our phones is so staggering. Like I was clocking probably between 4 and 5 hours a day. Hours and hours every single day. So that's dozens of hours a week. And you sound like you manage your smartphone use a bit better than maybe I was, because I was not capable of locking it away for a full weekend. So if you're already doing that, then maybe the benefit wouldn't be as substantial as it was for me. But the amount of time, I think, was the biggest thing that just felt immediately like your days feel more spacious. You feel like you can handle more. Maybe you also have more mental clarity and space to handle more in your days. So that, I think, was the biggest part for me is, yeah, that's so personal feeling like I don't want to be wasting my time consuming things that I never really had an interest in to begin with, and is being fed to me because I might be interested in it, but I would never have sought this out. My screen time, I think I got like 3 hours a day back. Did I go and use those 3 hours? Oh, I used it so efficiently and I achieved XYZ. No, not necessarily, but your experience of your day changes when you suddenly have that much time back because you're not scrolling mindlessly. And I think I used the phrase in the story, like your phone use fills up your day like water, right? Like it fills up every crevice of your day. It doesn't feel like you're sitting on it for 3 hours, but you are. And so that was really big. And then I think the other thing was, and this is not quite related to, you could be on social media on your computer as well, but I always access it on my phone. And so it was the removal of social media for me, I think, just allowed me to feel more positive. And I think this is a very common experience, like too much comparison, too much, whether it's FOMO, whether it's compulsive shopping, or like whatever it is, that kind of very human like instinct to just seeing everyone else's lives all the time, that went away to almost nothing. So I think then you have the experience of gratitude for the things you do have, more presence in your own experiences, these kinds of subtle emotional changes that just leave you feeling, oh, I just feel better. Like I physically feel better and more clear headed. And there's other ways to get off social media. Just like I can't do it without having my phone in a drawer, seemingly. Like it's just so easy to re download the app, to put the limit on your social media, but then go around it. There was something about being on a device that simply I couldn't access it, made it possible. And I think it just changed the emotional landscape in my brain and in my body in a way that I hadn't experienced with other techniques or tools before.
Yeah. I've been thinking an awful lot lately about the importance just in all facets of life, but especially with regard to our phone use, the importance of discipline and putting limits on ourselves. Nobody likes limits. They're not fun. They're not glamorous, but we do it all the time. We moderate our food intake or our ultra processed food intake. We moderate our sitting on the couch by infusing exercise, even though eating ultra processed foods is great and sitting on the couch is also great. Like we exercise discipline, we put limits on ourselves for our ultimate benefit. And I think with regard to our phones, big tech makes an awful lot of money when we're undisciplined. People benefit when our eyeballs are seeing their content. People benefit when we're sitting on our phone for 4, 5, 6 hours a day. But it's not, at least in my case personally, I'll speak for me, it's not me who's benefiting. And so putting discipline into the situation, putting limits on my use is really, again, not glamorous, not fun, not what anybody else seems to be doing, but it's for my benefit. And so I just wonder if you have any thoughts there on the importance of us treating our cell phones like we treat other things that we know are bad for us. Junk food, alcohol, cigarettes, being a couch potato. I don't know, you name it. Any thoughts there?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I think it's a very similar thing where it's instant pleasure versus long-term discomfort. And I think what's unique about the phones is if we only eat junk food all day, every day, we have that kind of immediate feedback of maybe we have a specific health issue or our clothes aren't fitting or something. There's an external feedback that says, okay, I need to get this in check. Or if I'm spending money recklessly, yeah, now I'm in debt and now I have credit card debt to pay off or whatever. With the phone, I don't think there's always that immediate feedback where you could sit on your phone for 10 hours a day and barring not getting your work done or doing something immediate that has a consequence like that, the main thing that is being impacted is like your time's gone, which maybe doesn't feel as much of a you don't feel that impact so concretely, but I think it still matters just as much. Your time is gone, and therefore the things that you wanted to invest in your true interests and your hobbies and your sense of like your life being filled with the things that matter to you is no longer possible because all of this has been drained for someone else's benefit, all of this like vital time. So I think it's interesting in that way where I do think you need the same kinds of sense of balance and sense of what system works for me to be able to navigate this like hyper pleasurable new modern like thing in my life when the consequences aren't always immediate until 5 years later and I realize I've not achieved any of the goals that I wanted to because I spent 3 hours a day on Facebook or whatever. Like you said too, I think it's really motivating to think about making these changes as investing back into ourselves instead of handing over something vital about our lives to corporations and tech companies that, again, don't have our best interests at heart. Not to say that these devices can't also bring us benefits as well, but I think that can be really motivating for a lot of people. Like, I want to turn the focus back to what's best for me. And if that means that I need to completely disinvest from this device and like completely stop its use because that's the only thing that works for me, then knowing yourself and knowing where your own limits are, like in the same way for drinking, for some people, abstinence is what works. That's the thing that's the path that they need to be on. The same way for any kind of like substance behavior, whatever, it's up to you to figure out how it needs to make sense in your life to have the most benefits for you and where that like cost benefit point is in your life.
And for listeners who aren't sure whether they need to perhaps be as extreme as you were about it or whether a smaller, less dramatic strategy would work for them, what would you say?
I would say two things. I would say there's no harm in trying out lower cost, more accessible tools and techniques. Like if putting your phone on grayscale and turning your phone to do not disturb reduces your screen time by half, then maybe you don't need to do anything more extreme than that. Maybe your relationship to your phone is already a bit healthier than mine was to begin with. And that is already a substantial change in your life that feels really positive, and that's where you need to go. And there are other tools, like I had tried previously for another story, the Brick device. I don't know if you've heard about this, where it's basically like a physical device where you can have it lock you out of certain apps, but you have to actually tap your phone to it like you do when you tap to pay at checkout or whatever. And so it's a useful way to turn your phone into something that can do a bit less for a period of time. But anyways, there are other tools like that might be easier. But I will say, if you want to try something that seems overwhelming or like a big step like this, it doesn't have to be full time. It doesn't have to be permanent. And the benefits that you get from it, I think, show up pretty quickly. I don't think you need to be using a flip phone for a month at a time. to be like, wow, I really interact with social media differently than I used to. Or wow, I read 3 books this month and I hadn't been able to read a book for the 6 months prior. I think those benefits start to arrive pretty quickly. Like we were talking about before, we're really malleable. I think we are responsive to change really quickly. And what I found, at least, is the actual space away from the phone and just knowing that it's not an option for a while feels really different than, okay, I'm going to turn my phone on Do Not Disturb, but I know it's still my main phone, so I still want to go and check it. Just knowing it's not an option and putting it off the table changes the dynamic. So you can have that experience and give yourself the experience and the benefits from it for a period of time for relatively low cost. I think the phone itself, this flip phone, there are lots of other models available that people recommend. This flip phone was $100, maybe a little bit less. And then I purchased 3 months of low-cost service to get the new number set up for maybe $45. So all in, $150 for 3 months of this device being set up. Like, if I were to use this device for every weekend from that full time period, the amount of time that I think I could get back from that investment is huge. And I think it's also, for me at least, was a bit fun to be like subversive and have your flip phone out and have, while everyone else is sitting on their iPhones, and like you have the flip phone and people are like, oh my gosh, and wanting to see it, and you can influence folks in that way for reminding them that there are alternatives. I think that is really powerful, in the same way that when you're sitting around a table and one person takes out their smartphone and everyone takes theirs out, I think there's still that social contagion in the reverse, right? Like, if you don't have your phone out, you help encourage others to not take their phones out, and also show them, here's this other device that could help you have a digital detox and have a positive impact on your life. And so I think the social contagion is another important part of this, where it's fun to have the flip phone out around your friends and family and show them an alternative. And I think that's ultimately how we like unravel the whole mess that we're in, where everyone's on their phones 24/7. Is it has to start with people being excited and interested and finding it unique and fun to use these other kinds of devices, and like being able to see the payoff quickly and not worrying about, oh, that means I can never use a piece of tech again. No, it doesn't need to be that drastic.
Yeah, I think it starts with just being honest with ourselves individually about whether these very powerful pieces of tech are giving more than they're taking, or whether they're taking more than they're giving. And for me, the answer is they're taking more than they're giving. I take the train to work on the days that I go to work, and I read my book, and my phone's in my pocket. And every, I don't know, 2-3 minutes, I feel the need to check the phone. Maybe I look something up. Maybe I check the weather, whatever it is. And I can't get through 2 pages in my book without checking this thing. That's crazy. And just this weekend, the phone's off. It's in a drawer. It's off. Like, I'm not checking it. And I realized I can read a full chapter without feeling the need to check my phone. Like, that was a powerful realization for me. I'm in control of my life. My phone is not in control. And so I think it comes down to, again, just us all being honest with ourselves, and then, again, putting limits on ourselves if we need to. If once we're honest with ourselves, what we learn is not where we want to be. So thank you so much for this conversation, Courtney. Please tell us where we can find you and this specific reporting, but more specifically, all your reporting at Consumer Reports.
Yeah, consumerreports.org. This story about my experience with the flip phone is up there. I also wrote about, like I said, the Brick app, which is another tool to reduce your screen time. We have other stories about digital minimalism. I have another story coming up that reviews the Light phone, which is another kind of quasi smartphone, dumb phone. It's like a pared down smartphone. So that was a really fun experience to use that as well. So we write all about different kinds of tech, movements in tech, like digital minimalism. So consumerreports.org. Sometimes we do social media videos. You can follow us on Instagram, TikTok, all those places as well.
Thank you so much, Courtney. You inspired me. So thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thanks so much.
Listeners, that's a wrap. My friends, show notes are at mamaminimalist.com/5 87. I've linked to Courtney's reporting as well as everything else you need to know, including the research that I cited. As per the Washington Post article, I cited about recent research into turning off the internet on your phone for 2 weeks. I've linked to that as well. On next week's show, we're continuing down this smartphone topic road, but through a slightly different angle. On next week's show, we are exploring what adults like me who grew up without smartphones have quietly lost in our digital age. And more specifically, my show is for parents who want to intentionally preserve aspects of the pre-digital world for the next generation. We're talking about how to do that. Oh my goodness, yes, I'm so excited. I'll see you next week. As always, reach out if you need me. Thanks for being here and take care.
Shop the Sherwin-Williams sale and get 30% off Duration, Woodscapes, and Super Deck products May 1st through the 11th. Whether you're refreshing your interior or exterior, we've got the colors to bring your vision to life. And with delivery, getting everything to your door is easier than ever. Shop online to have it delivered or visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store. Click the banner to learn more. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details. Delivery available on qualifying orders.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.